Welcome to another episode of The Core on Ye TV, and I'm your host, Damia Dini. On The Core, we talk about inspirational and thought-provoking topics ranging from your spirituality to your walk in Christ, to your faith, to marriage, to finance, to your lifestyle, you name it. We talk about it. Anything that concerns you, we address it here on The Core. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that everyone has experienced. Everyone is probably going through one way or the other. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to wait and wait and wait for something because you were expectant? Today we'll be talking about patience. And in the studio here with us, we have a wonderful guest who will be talking about this with us. But before we get to meet him, and we just need to go on a quick break, so do not change that dial, do not go anywhere because we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. And before the break, I was just letting you know what we're talking about today. I said before the break, we'll be talking about patience on this episode of The Core. And in the studio here with us, we have Major Garry from the Salvation Army Saskatoon Temple. You're welcome, sir. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
So before we go into the topic for today, could you just tell us a little about yourself?
We've been the pastors in Saskatoon now for 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Before that, we spent 2 years in Moose Jaw. Prior to that, 5 years in London, Ontario. And our first church was in Tisdale, Saskatchewan for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So we were commissioned, ordained in 1999 and moved from Ontario to Saskatchewan. And we've spent, I guess now, 13 of our 18 years in this province. And love Saskatchewan, but next week are leaving back for Ontario again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure we'll miss you. We'll miss having you. But so let's go to the topic of today. We're talking about patience. What is patience?
Patience is waiting. It's fighting against our urges to want something and want it right away. It's something that we all struggle with, but when we think of patience as being a fruit of the Spirit, then that tells us that there's something spiritual about patience. There's something outside of ourselves that we need to be a patient person.
So why do you think patience is important? And I say this because there's always this misconception, especially if you're a new Christian, when you think that you've given your life to Christ, and all of a sudden everything is supposed to be smooth. So what is the importance of patience? Why do you think God sees it as something very important in our Christian walk?
I think patience is an attribute of God. Like going back to the idea of when we become a Christian, Jesus describes our journey as picking up our cross. So it's not picking up a life of ease, it's picking up a life of difficulty, it's picking up struggles, it's struggling against all that we were before we came to Christ and being made into that new person. And part of that is growing in patience. Patience with ourselves, patience with other people, patience with God. Because sometimes God moves on a different time scale than what we move on.
So what do you do at the time of waiting? Because patience is waiting. Like in that period when you're waiting, especially when you're expectant for something, when you're looking to God for something, or you're waiting for something, what do we do in that wait period?
I think we're learning, we're listening to ourselves, we're learning to fight against that urge to rely on our own ingenuity, our own wisdom, our own strength. And you know, the psalmist tells us, be still and know that I am God. And that being still is patience, right? It's that waiting and learning.
So is there any relationship between patience and perseverance?
The way I see the difference and the similarity is both of them involve waiting. Both of them involve enduring something. Perseverance, I think, is external pressures, things that press in on us, whereas patience is an internal thing. It's me that is fighting that inner urges that I have, whereas perseverance is something that's being imposed on me from the outside in some way.
So do you think that there's a relationship or similarities or difference, whatever relationship you think, between perseverance and patience?
I think perseverance is, there's similarities, of course, because they both involve waiting for something or enduring something. Perseverance is more of that external thing, the way I would look at it. You think of people enduring persecution, people that are waiting for answers, maybe praying because of an illness, or some tragedy has come into their lives, and it's testing their faith, and there's that need for perseverance to endure, to hold up. Patience is something similar to that, but I see patience as more of an inward struggle. Patience with my children, patience with my wife, patience when things aren't going the way that I think they should. And it's me struggling against that sort of inward desire to want something and want it right away. You think of children leaving on a trip, and within a few minutes, are we there yet? Are we there yet? That wanting to be where you want to be, and it's an inward struggle. Perseverance is an outward struggle.
The next question would be, in our generation, I'm a millennial, and we are in the microwave generation.
Yeah.
We want everything fast. So what should be our attitude? But before you answer that, we just have to go on a quick break.
Sure.
And we'll address that. Viewers, I hope you're having a wonderful time. We'll just take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. And just in case you missed it, we're talking about patience. And before the break, Major Garry told us the difference between patience and perseverance. Patience is internal and perseverance is external. Perseverance has to do with enduring things on an external level. Before the break, I asked a question. In this microwave generation, Major Garry, what should be our attitude? We always want things fast. We always want things now. We always want things right now as a millennial. What would you say the attitude of a Christian, what would you say the attitude of a Christian should be in their waiting?
I know people say about the millennials, but I don't think it's just millennials. I think we've struggled with that down through the ages. You think of people in the past, that Abraham, wanting that child, knowing that the child had been promised, and wanting it right away, and struggling with it. He wasn't a millennial. Myself, I'm not a millennial, but yet there's things that I find that I want, and I want them right away. Just a month ago, I was traveling back to Ontario, sitting in the airport, and the announcement came that our flight was boarding now. And the number of people that jumped up to get in line to stand and wait until it was their turn to get onto the airplane. It was I sat back and thought, well, the airplane is not going to leave any sooner, right? It's going to leave at a certain time.
Yeah.
But everyone thought that if they get up quickly and that something will happen more sooner, and they just had to learn patience, right? So I sat and waited until the line got down, and then took my time. I felt more relaxed, more at ease. I think maybe they weren't as relaxed and as at ease.
Yeah, I think that one of the greatest misconceptions with patience is that if you wait for too long, or if you just keep waiting, you don't get the best, or other people get the best and you're left with whatever is left. So what would you say to that?
I think that's just the culture that we live in. Really emphasizes the fact of getting now. We're in the process of moving. I've mentioned that, and we wanted to take some pictures of the house to show to the new couple that is coming in. They have a couple of children, so they want to see what their house looks like. So now all I have to do is pull up my cell phone, snap a couple of pictures, and instantly it's sent. As little as 20 years ago, I would have had to have gone out and got a roll of film, picked what kind of film I was going to get, put it in the camera, take the pictures, send the pictures away, or the film to get developed. So there was this whole waiting process. But now everything is so instantaneous that I think we think that if you don't grab something quickly, you're going to somehow miss out. But so many times we see in life that when you wait for that special person. You don't miss out. You end up getting something much better than if you just rushed out and grabbed the first thing that came along, or the first opportunity. So it's just that resisting again. It's that idea of we want to grab something because we have that sort of nature that wants to grab something right away, and patience is that attribute of the Spirit that holds us back, waiting for God to work and God to present those opportunities to us. So I think the patience is all about waiting for God, right? Waiting for His timing.
You just touched on the next question I was going to ask. So would you say patience is inbuilt? Are some people more patient than others, or it comes by just the fruit of the Spirit?
I think there's a personality. Some people have a personality that's more low key, and they can, just because of their personality, the way they're created, they can wait. But still, there's that patience that is supernatural, that can only come through the Spirit. And as the Spirit, as we grow in that, we become a more patient person. If Paul says that love is patience, then obviously that's something that's outside of ourselves, something that we need to grow in. There's a patience that can only come from God, that can only come from the Spirit's power in us.
Like I've always wanted to ask, what does love is patient mean? What does love is patient? What does that mean?
Ask my wife. I can be so patient with other people, but when you become familiar with a person, it's easy for your true nature to start showing itself. We guard ourselves with other people, but we become more unguarded with our loved ones. And I think that we really see how we're growing in patience in how we are patient with those that we're closest to. Can I extend the same patience to them as I would extend it to a person in my church, a person that I work with, a person that I play sports with? And so that idea of love is patient, I think comes from that, again, that supernatural presence in us that brings that overpowering, that unconditional love that allows other people to make mistakes, allows other people to be who they are, and I don't react from who I am. I just show them the love that comes from God.
So what attitude does God demand from us while being patient?
it's that Christ-like attitude. It's not demanding other people move at a speed that we're imposing on them. It's not demanding of God that he do something sooner than is right. So it's an attitude of just that being still, of that quiet waiting. It's an opportunity to pray. It's an opportunity to grow, to wait, to develop understanding. I think the Proverbs talk about the idea that with wisdom comes patience, or with patience comes wisdom, and it's the fool, the quick-tempered that rush into folly. So it's just developing that weight and that ability to lean on God, to rest in God, that comes with that attitude. That attitude of rest, of peace, of just not rushing ahead of things.
So what is the result of patience? What do you think it does for us to be patient? What's the lesson usually?
I think it makes us a much happier person, a much more joyful person. You know, if you're an impatient person in today's world, and you can't experience much joy just out driving. You know, there's people that don't use indicators. There's people that are looking all over the place. If you develop patience, it relieves so much stress, because you're not always pushing, you're not always driving things. You're relaxed. So there's the mental sort of aspect to it. There's also the physical aspect. Your body is just without all that stress. It's got to be good for the soul too, right? And the body. Yeah. So there's all kinds of benefits to being patient.
Yeah, and you know, another thing that I have learned from patience is that it does build your faith too. Like, if it makes you realize that in your waiting you have to lean on something, or
Yes.
you have to lean on someone, and I mean in this case is Jesus Christ. So yeah, and aside from building your faith, because it does help you to build your faith, because you are leaning on somebody in that waiting period. Usually patience comes because you can't solve what you're doing by yourself. At least in my Christian faith, that's what I find, that the need to be patient is that there's no other solution but God, right? I mean, it's not always the case, but it builds your faith. I want to talk about the culture changes in being patient. We briefly talked about it as a millennial and how we want things fast, but how do you think culture also affects patience?
You know, God has woven patience into our lives, in the sense that when a farmer plants his crop, he has to wait for that crop to grow and to develop. When you're having a child, you have to wait 9 months, and it seems like forever, but it's only 9 months. And woven into our lives is this idea of waiting, and the joy that comes at the end of that waiting period sort of makes all the waiting worthwhile. You know, you think of the experiences that you have in life. If everything happened instantly, where would be the sense of expectation, of anticipation? And they only can come if there's a delay, if there's a waiting period, if we have patience. And when you find you've waited for something, it becomes so much better because you've been able to wait for it, rather than that instant gratification. And our culture today is all about the instant gratification, and it's lost that sense of God's timing that's woven into our lives, that good things come to those who wait.
I love that. Good things come to those who wait. We've come to the end of the show. It's been amazing, Major. But at the end of the show, we like to do something. The show is called The Core, and so we like to take it back to the core. And I would just like for you to tell our viewers why Jesus is everything, why Jesus is the ultimate, why he's who you should be leaning on when you're waiting and who you should put your trust in. So, yeah, you can just...
I think it's in Hebrews 13. It talks about Jesus being the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Yes.
We live in a world that is changing, a world where yesterday's invention is tomorrow's thing on the garbage heap. Jesus always is the same. His love never changes. His desires for us never change. We can always rely on him. We never go out of style with Jesus. And so, yeah, if you're looking for something that you can rely on, that you can trust in, that will always be there for you, then there's nothing other than Jesus.
Viewers, you've heard that Jesus is unchangeable. He remains the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Major Garry, for your time. And you're able to still come, make time to come, hang out with us in the studio. So we really, really appreciate this. And we wish you all the best in all your endeavors. We hope to see you back in Saskatoon, Canada sometime soon, so we can get to interview you again. So it's been a pleasure.
Well,
thank you so much. And viewers, I hope you've enjoyed the show on patience. It's been amazing. I have learned so much myself. I've learned what to do in the waiting period. I've learned the kind of attitude to have as well. And I just wanted to remember something. As I always say when I end the show, life without Jesus is like a donut. It's sort of empty on the inside. So make him your center. Make him your focus. Make
Amen.
him the core. I'm your host, Damiadini. Until next time, have a wonderful time.